Good afternoon, people. So today we have the last lecture as far as ethics is concerned. So today we are going to do a topic, ethics and human interface, right? In which we have to talk about the essence of ethics, determinants of ethics, and dimension of ethics. These are the three topics which are remaining, which we are going to take up in today's lecture. Now, we have done enough about what is ethics, what is the difference between ethics and morality, but one confusion which remains among most of us is, what is the source of ethics? Many a times I have been telling you time and again in the previous lecture. For example, in one of the lectures I told you norms are one thing from which ethics is rooted. Then we also discussed how laws also determine your ethics, right? We have also discussed the debate, sometimes things might be legal but might not be ethical. So we have done all of that. So every time the confusion that we have is, then what exactly is the source of ethics? Now for the final time, since this is the last lecture, there is no one source of ethics. It depends upon from where are you sourcing your ethics. So there are multiple determinants of ethics, to be very precise. Is that very clear? Okay. First thing, let's talk about what do you mean by essence? Essence basically refers to an indispensable quality which determines the character of that entity, which determines the most important aspect of that entity, right? So here it is ethics. So what is the essence of ethics? Matlab, that indispensable quality of ethics, what is it? Is that clear? So that is what we mean by essence of ethics. And why are we discussing this? Because this is specifically given in your syllabus that you have to discuss about essence of ethics. Is that clear? Now see, every human being is capable of making informed and intelligent decisions. Every human being is capable of doing that. And the decisions which those human being or individual makes, these decisions have implication for both the individual as well as collective. Hence, individual should take the moral responsibility for their actions. In this context, the essence of ethics is it helps you making right decisions. This is the basic essence of ethics. It directs your behavior, it influences your choices, and it guides you with respect to your decision making. Is that clear? Likho itna. This is the This is the essence of ethics. It helps us in making better decisions. It enables us to make informed choices. It helps in establishing virtuous society. That's the most important quality of ethics. Indispensable quality. That is referred as the essence, the most important character of ethics. Most important quality which determines its character. Let us say you get a question with respect to the essence of ethics. You can start with what do you mean by ethics, right? It's a prescriptive code of conduct with respect to rightness and wrongness of an action, or how an individual is supposed to act in a situation. So what is the right or the wrong conduct? It is determined by the ethics. You start with the definition, then you define what do you mean by essence. Essence is the most important quality which determines the character. So what is that most important quality of ethics? The most important quality is it ensures that you take responsible decisions. You take right decisions. You take better decisions. You make informed choices. It enables us to create a virtuous society, a peaceful place to live in. So that is nothing but the essence of ethics. Is that clear for everyone? Okay? Online, is that clear? See? Can we proceed? Next thing, next topic, determinants of ethics. छोटे छोटे टॉपिक हैं आज. Determinants of ethics. Write down, एक लाइन लिखो. There is no objective way. There is no objective way of determining. There is no objective way of determining what is right or wrong for all time to come. There is no objective way of determining what is right or wrong for all time to come. Full stop. It is neither absolute nor universal. To determine what is right or wrong is neither absolute nor universal. It changes. It is very specific to the context in which you are operating. Is that clear? So write down a statement. Ethics is contextual. Ethics is contextual. Ethics is contextual. It operates at different level. It operates at different level. Individual, organizational, socio-cultural, political, etc. Ethics are maintained and sustained. Ethics are maintained and sustained by sense of responsibility. Ethics are maintained and sustained by sense of responsibility rather than mere accountability to the external agency. Rather than mere accountability to the external agency. Mere accountability to the external agency. You tend to follow ethics not just because you will be held accountable. That's because it comes from within. That sense of responsibility has to be there. Otherwise, many a times for not abiding the ethics, at max there will be a social disapproval. You might not be penalized for that until and unless a specific law is existing, right? So the point here is that many a times you are following ethics not because of that accountability, but more because of the sense of responsibility. And if you think that you can abide by the ethics only because you will be held accountable, then it would not be a very internalized process. Remember, I told you conformity and compliance. You might comply, but for conformity, it should come from within. So it has to come from the sense of responsibility rather than mere accountability. Is this clear? एक line लिखो. Ethics can transcend the narrow stipulation of laws. Ethics can transcend the narrow stipulation of laws. Ethics can transcend narrow stipulation of laws. What I mean by this is sometimes when law is not present in a certain context, there is a certain amount of discretion, discrepancy. In that context, your ethics comes to play a very important role. Let us say you are a police officer who is being posted in a police station. There is some crime which is happening in an area which is outside your jurisdiction, and you choose not to act on it. It is absolutely legal because that area is not falling under your jurisdiction, and if you chose not to react to that, it is absolutely fine because that is what law says. Here comes the role of the ethics. And that will be determined whether you have that sense of responsibility towards maintaining law and order in the society or not. Is that clear for everyone? Okay. Now, let's continue. So, there is no one determinant of ethics. There are multiple determinants of ethics. For example, religion. For example, culture, law, constitution, leadership, family, philosophies, human conscience, intuition. That also determines your ethics. Sometimes you don't need someone else to tell you what is right or wrong. It's your gut feeling. Your intuition tells you what is the right act or right conduct in a particular situation. Is that clear? We have religion, we have culture, we have constitution, leadership, philosophies, human conscience and intuition. You can write any and everything that you want. Accountability to external agency. Let's start with the first one, God and religion. Write down. It advocates universal and ideal ethical standards. It advocates universal and ideal ethical standards. Ideal ethical standards. Religious scriptures deals with the questions, religious scriptures deals with the questions of how an individual should behave and how the society should be. How the society should be. यही है religious scriptures, यही कहते हैं that how the individual should behave and how the society should be. For example, we did ना निष्काम कर्म, हमने बात करी थी ना भगवत गीता में, that कर्म कर फल की इच्छा मत कर. So this is through religious scriptures, it tells us how we are supposed to conduct ourselves, right? And when we say that the ethics is based on religion, that means you are tracing the source of ethics to God. Something is good because God says so. Why we should not be attached to the consequences of our action. Why we should only focus on the action that is supposed to be performed based on whether it is right or wrong. Immaterial of whatever would be the consequences of that action. Whether we would get the desired results or not, that should not concern us. Our focus should be only to perform the action which we believe is right. And where it is written, Lord Krishna told us that this is how one should conduct ourselves. And why do we believe that this is the right way to do so? Because the God says so. So when your ethics is based on religion, that means the source of ethics is traced directly to God. Is it making sense for everyone, right? But now here comes a problem. That means people who don't believe in God or religion, what about them? There might be some who are atheists, who don't believe. So that means ethics would not apply to them. ऐसा तो नहीं होगा. Ethics will apply to those people also who don't believe in God. That means for them, there should be some other source of ethics. That is why we don't have one specific source of ethics. There are multiple determinants of ethics. It totally depends upon you which determinant of ethics you are following. Is that clear? Likho. Religion-based ethics trace the source to God. Religion-based ethics trace the source to God. Which says something is good because God says so. Something is good because God says so. However, religion is not the only source of ethics. Religion is not the only source of ethics. Otherwise, it would not be applied to atheists. Otherwise, it would not be applicable with respect to atheists. It would not be applicable with respect to atheist. Next, human conscience and intuition. wait. What I'm trying to tell is, through this conversation, can you realize sometimes things are good because they are good. You don't want a specific source to tell you that, oh, this is the right thing. Sometimes things are good because prima facie, per se, they are the good thing, they are the right thing. For example, A says we should not harm animals for fun. B asks why. So A says because it will cause pain to them and we should not cause pain to others. B says why. So A says we should treat others as we want to be treated by them. B again says why. A says because this is the right thing to do. For everything you cannot have some source. It is your inner conscience. Conscience का मतलब क्या होता है? I told you ना, inner feeling which tells you this is right and this is wrong. It's your calling which is telling you that you should treat others as you want to be treated by them. You should not insult others. You should not mock others. You should not be cruel to them. You should not harm them. You should not abuse them. You should not discriminate them. Why you shouldn't do all these things? Would you like when others will abuse you? Will you like when others will discriminate you? Will you like when others will mock you? No, you wouldn't like that, right? So you should treat others as you want to be treated by them. That's what human conscience and intuition say. See, imagine the world would be such a brilliant place to live in if we follow this. Write this. Do you realize this can also be the introduction in some of your essays? You know? So a lot of philosophical essays में you can actually have this conversation as your introduction. But देख लेना topic wise, हर जगह नहीं लिख देना. Wherever it is relevant, you can make use of it. Next, culture. See, it is very important. कहते हैं ना कि you have to be molding yourself according to the culture to which you belong. So many a times the ethics is determined by the culture of the society or the culture in which you are living. Remember, I told you that there are certain values which are culture specific, and values when seen in the prism of right and wrong determines your ethics at societal level. We have discussed all these definitions, right? So remember, culture specific में, West में, the value system is consumerism. It is individualism. It is rationality. It is universalism. Whereas in context of our traditional society, we have strong religious orientation. We have collectivism. We have cooperation. We have familial obedience. We have delayed gratification. क्या है ये? ये हमारा culture है, right? So our culture is going to determine our ethics. Their culture is going to determine their ethics. Is that clear? एक line में लिखो. The ethical principles of individual the ethical principles of individual are also influenced by the culture to which they belong, by the culture to which they belong, by the culture to which they belong. For example, in context of India, collectivism, familial obedience, cooperation, strong religious orientation, delayed gratification, so in context of our society, we have these values, and these values are going to determine our ethics. So the ethical principles of the individual are also determined by the value system which is existing in their culture. Is that clear? So whether it is collectivism, familial obedience, delayed gratification, cooperation, strong religious orientation, so all of this is going to determine our ethics. It's ethical for us to respect our parents. It is ethical for us to touch the feet of our elders. Why? Because our culture says so. It is ethical for us to pursue the collective interest of our family and then to think about our own selfish interest. Why? Because this is considered ethical. This is our culture. Is that very clear for everyone? Next, write down society, 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 society. Do you realize, just a sec, do you realize everything which the society says cannot be equated with being ethical? What if the society is patriarchal? Patriarchy cannot be considered ethical, right? Similarly, what if the caste system is ingrained in the society? Will you consider caste system as ethical? Maybe there are some societies where child marriage is being practiced. Will you consider child marriage as being ethical because a certain society is practicing that? Naina. So whatever society does, it cannot be equated or synonymously used with respect to ethics, because sometimes the societies digress from what is being ethical. So everything that society says cannot be considered as ethical. It can be a norm in the society. It can be a practice which is existing in the society. But you can't say it is an ethical norm, it is an ethical practice. Clear hai? Ek line mein likho. Although society is an important source of ethics, although society is an important source of ethics, but one should not equate ethics to whatever society accepts. One should not equate ethics to whatever society accepts, as society can deviate from what is ethical, as society can deviate from what is ethical. For example, patriarchy. For example, practice of dowry, as Bikram has mentioned. caste based discrimination. Clear hai? Girdhar, ma'am, then which one is right and which is wrong? That's what we are coming, that there is no one way to determine what is right and what is wrong. But if there is ever a confusion as a duty bound citizen, I would like to say it should be constitution, which should ultimately determine what is ethical and what is not. Because that is the foremost duty of each of us. Each and every citizen should abide by the provisions of the constitution. So whatever your constitution says, it should be considered as ethical. Yeah, if the constitution undergoes a change, if there are certain amendments which are made to the constitution, then that is a different thing. But as of now, if there is any dilemma, then it should constitution which should prevail. Constitutional morality should be given primacy in case there is any confusion. Is that clear? Okay. Next, family, teachers, life experiences. एक line में लिखो ये सब. They shapes the value system of an individual. Family, teachers shapes the value system of an individual. However, one can break away. One can break away from these existing norms. One can break away from these existing norms due to their own life experiences. Due to their own life experiences. Due to their own life experiences. Clear? Law. Next point, law. It incorporates ethical standards. It incorporates ethical standards to which most citizens subscribe. To which most citizens subscribe. To which most citizens subscribe. In long run, it helps. In long run, it helps in reframing, molding, or reshaping the ethics of society. In long run, it helps in reframing, molding, and reshaping the ethics of society. Clear है? भाई बहुत बार ऐसा होता है, there is a social evil practice which is existing, ठीक है? But many of us believe that that practice is an evil practice and it should not continue. As a result, a law is being passed. But once the law is passed, ऐसा तो होगा नहीं कि immediately the value system of everyone in the society will undergo a change. It would not happen. Remember I told you belief, emotion and action tendency. At max, law can curb your behavior, but it might not guarantee that it can bring about changes in your beliefs and emotions. But it is believed when over a period of time that law continues to practice and it continues to curb a certain evil behavior, so in a long term, even your beliefs, even your value system undergoes a change. So it plays a very significant role in reshaping, molding or reframing the ethics which are existing in the society. For example, decriminalization of homosexuality. Many might be there who do not believe in homosexuality, but the law is being there which has decriminalized it, which has accepted homosexuality. So maybe some years down the line, the society comes to a level where they accept homosexuality, where they accept homosexual people, which leads to inclusion of homosexual people. So law immediately does not shape your ethics, but in a long period of time, it can. For example, there was a time when child marriage was a very prevalent phenomena. But then the law came, which asked that the child marriage should not take place. Even after the law, in some communities, child marriage still persisted. But at large, today, there are many people where child marriage is not being practiced. Our data also says, Census 2011 report says 30% of the women were married before the age of 18. Matlab 70% of the women were not married before the age of 18, right? So why only look at those 30%? There has been a change now with respect to 70%. वो 30% भी कम हो जाएगा. अभी National Family Health Survey report कह भी रही है it has further declined to some 24-25%, right? So the point here is with every passing year, the practice of child marriage will further decline. So that is what we are trying to say, that law immediately does not bring about change, but in long run, it plays a very significant role in shaping the ethics of the society. Is that clear? Okay. Next, philosophies. Write down philosophies. But sometimes ना laws भी ऐसे हो सकते हैं जो unethical हो, जैसे US के context में slavery laws. There are certain laws which can be unethical. ठीक है ना? एक ये line भी लिख लो. Sometimes laws might not be ethical. Sometimes the laws might not be ethical. This is an exception. For example, slavery laws in US. Slavery laws in US. Slavery laws in US. Leadership. Or I made you write philosophies. Philosophies ना एक line में लिखो. Ethical values of individual also depends on the philosophy to which he was closer. Ethical values of an individual will also depend upon the philosophies to which he or she is closer to. We'll discuss in some time deontological ethics and teleological. Teleological basically means end-based ethics, where, don't need to write, I'll explain everything later, where the moral worth of the action is determined by its consequences, right? There are certain philosophy of ethics known as deontological, which is also known as Kantian ethics, which says moral worth of an action is determined by the means, right? Duty-based ethics, right? So it depends which philosophy you are closer to. You might be concerned with consequential ethics, that is teleological, end-based ethics. There might be someone else who is more concerned with deontological ethics, Kantian ethics, duty-based ethics. So obviously, for you, the ethics would be different. Clear hai? Okay. We'll discuss. Abhi kuch time mein I have to discuss dimension of ethics, so there I'll mention all these things. Next, leadership. The leadership also helps in determining, the conduct of their followers. The leadership also helps in determining the conduct of their followers. For example, tolerance, non-violence, liberty, equality, brotherhood. We have learned these principles from our leaders, right? There have been innumerable leaders which the Indian history has witnessed, and we have learned these ethical principles. But sometimes the leader themselves is prone to unethical practices. So at that point of time, your individual discretion is very important. Not see, majority of the cases, the leader is determining your ethical standards. And we have been lucky enough to have good leaders who have shaped our ethical principles. But sometimes the leader themselves might be unethical. For example, is that clear? However, leaders are also prone to unethical practices. Sometimes the leader is also prone to unethical practices. Hence, it depends upon the virtues of the leader. Hence, it depends upon the virtues of the leader. Virtues of the leader. Last is constitution. 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 It is a way to establish, it is a way to establish moral disposition of the society. It is the way to establish moral disposition, the moral setup, moral fabric, moral disposition of the society. So whatever is written in your preamble will constitute the ethical framework with respect to our society. Is that very clear for everyone? Is it making sense? I hope now you have understood that, okay, by the way, there was an essay topic which UPSC asked once. Customary morality cannot be the guide to the modern day life. You understand what is morality? Morals? Okay. The set of standards which individual has established for himself to guide with respect to rightness and wrongness of an act. Okay. How would you know? How have you established those standards for yourself? One of the source can be customary practices. So when your source of morality is customs, that is known as customary morality. Now UPSC asked the essay topic that customary morality should not be the guide to the modern day life. Is that very clear? Okay. So you have to write both the sides. That sometimes it is the customary morality which actually can guide us in the modern day life. However, in some of the situations, it cannot. So in that situation of dilemma, it is the constitutional morality which is helping us to guide our decision making. Is it making sense for everyone? Okay. So whenever you study ethics, it is going to provide you the fodder for your philosophical essays. And if the trend continues, this year also you will be getting 2 philosophical topics. Is that clear? Okay. Next, last topic, dimension of ethics. dimension of ethics, you have descriptive ethics, meta ethics, normative ethics, applied ethics. Descriptive ethics, I have written what society think is right. Meta ethics, what does right even means? Normative ethics, what is the right way to act in a situation? Normative, what one should do, ought to do. Prescriptive, to be very precise. So first is descriptive, normative is prescriptive, and applied ethics is application of moral knowledge in your life. For example, you might have done ethics in public administration. Might kya, you have already done, Jatin sir has taught you. So that is application of moral knowledge in your administrative life. So that is, you might have done ethics in international relations, right? So that is nothing but the applied ethics. You've done society. So society mein you've studied surrogacy. You've studied transgender. You've studied abortion. So these are nothing but the application of moral knowledge in life. Okay. Just start with one line and then I'll explain. एक थोड़ा सा premise create कर देते हैं. Write down. Ethics is a systematic study. Ethics is a systematic study of human action. Ethics is a systematic study of human action from the point of view of rightfulness and wrongfulness. From the point of view of rightfulness and wrongfulness. It's a systematic study of human action from the point of view of rightfulness or wrongfulness. Full stop. It refers to the rule of conduct. It refers to the rule of conduct that society places on itself, to guide behavior, choices and action. To guide behavior, choices and action. To guide behavior, choices and action. ठीक है, let's start. Descriptive ethics का मतलब ये होता है, in simple words, I am describing what the society or what the people in the society considers is the right thing to do. Now here we are going to discuss two things. One is the Heinz dilemma. And other is Lawrence Kohlberg stages of moral development. Now, Lawrence Kohlberg gave his stages of moral development as in through three different stages: pre-conventional, conventional and principled stage, or the post-conventional stage. An individual develops. He wanted to study that what shapes the morality of the individual, and through this we will determine what society considers is the right thing to do, for which he made use of Heinz dilemma. It so happened that there was a woman who was suffering from cancer, and doctors said there is a druggist who have prepared a medication which can help to save that woman. And that druggist was the only person who had that medication. So obviously he wanted to sell the drug at a very high price, 10 times the cost of the drug, so as to mint money. Heinz was the person whose wife was ill. So Heinz went to meet that person who has prepared the medication, and requested him to give him the drug. However, the person who had prepared the drug was costing 10 times the amount, and Heinz did not have that much of money. So Heinz made all possible efforts collecting money from the friends, neighbors, relatives. Even then, he could not manage to collect the amount, which was 10 times. So he requested that his wife is ill, she is dying. So do him a favor that provide him at a subsidized rate, at a cheaper rate, and later, slowly and gradually, he will pay back. But the person who prepared the drug was not at all relenting to this. He just refused that I have prepared this drug. I am the only one who's having this drug, and I am not going to compromise with the cost. This is my time to earn money. So one night so happened, it was out of desperation that Heinz broke the chemist shop and he stole the drug. Now, Lawrence Kohlberg asked certain questions. What Heinz did was right or wrong? First thing, whether he should have stolen it or not. Secondly, what if the person dying was not the wife of the Heinz? Will that affect his behavior? What if, because of the refusal of the person to give the drug at a subsidized rate, what if the women would have died? Will he be held responsible for that? What if Heinz did not love his wife only? What if he believed that if he is going to steal, he would be put behind the bars? And his selfish interest was given primacy, and that is why he didn't steal. There are multiple questions which were asked based on this incident. And through the answers to this question which Lawrence Kohlberg got, he had prepared different stages of moral development. Is that very clear for everyone? तो पहले थोड़ा सा लिखते फिर और समझाती हूँ आगे. लिखो. Descriptive ethics. It is the study of people's belief. Heinz dilemma तो clear है ना? समझ आया ना? Heinz का क्या dilemma? Right done. It is a study of people's belief about morality. It is the study of people's belief about morality. It aims to uncover their belief. It aims to uncover their belief with respect to right or wrong. With respect to right or wrong. It involves empirical investigation. It involves empirical investigation. Hence, it is value free. It involves empirical investigation, scientific investigation. The person who is conducting the investigation, he is not letting his values creep in the process of research. For example, if I am a person who is conducting a research, this is a situation which is there. I am having certain set of students here. I am asking them, what do you think he should have done? Do you think it would affect his behavior? And based on your response, I will identify what you consider is right. I will not prescribe that what should be the right thing. I will just describe what you think is right. Is that clear? That is what descriptive ethics is all about. एक line में लिखो. It investigates people's ethical ideals. It investigates people ethical ideals or what action society reward or punish. What action society reward or punish. Give the heading Lawrence Kohlberg Stages of Moral Development. 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 See, I have already defined what is descriptive ethics. I am giving you an example of descriptive ethics. Lawrence Kohlberg stages of moral development is an example of descriptive ethics, where he describes what people think is right. Write down. Based on Heinz dilemma, Kohlberg asked few questions. Based on Heinz dilemma, I am not dictating Heinz dilemma now. बस याद रखना, वाइफ बीमार थी, जो दवाई चाहिए थी, that was expensive. The person was not ready to sell the drug. Hence, he broke the shop and he sold. Okay, so I'm not dictating this part, but remember Heinz dilemma. या bracket में लिख लो, to save his wife, he stole the medicine, so that you will be able to recall it. To save his wife, he stole the medicine. So based on Heinz dilemma, Kohlberg asked few questions. First, should have stolen the drug? Should have stolen the drug? Question mark. Should have stolen the drug? Question mark. What if he doesn't love his wife? What if he didn't love his wife? What if he didn't love his wife? Would have police arrested the chemist if the women died? Would have police arrested the chemist if the women died? Etc. Etc. Lawrence Kohlberg said these are the three stages through which the moral development takes place. Pre-conventional, conventional and post-conventional. Write down pre-conventional. Pre-conventional. This is the stage that we have when we are children. We don't have our own standards of morality. Write down. We don't have our own standards of morality. We don't have our own standards of morality. We don't have our own standards of morality. बच्चे की मोरालिटी कैसे डिटरमाइन होती है? They want to minimize the punishment. The kids know that they need to obey the elders. So my set of morality is determined by which action of mine will minimize my punishment and which action I am supposed to perform in order to showcase my obedience. Because every individual, specifically the kids, they want to maximize their rewards and they want to minimize their punishment. So their morality is shaped by their own self-interest. Is that clear? So any act which will maximize their rewards and minimize their punishment would determine their morality. So they don't have a personal code or standard for morality. It will be shaped by the punishments, rewards, or exchange of favors. What I mean by exchange of favors is everyone has their need. But have you ever noticed how children behave? They also know parents want something, but at the end of it, it is their need which matters the most. कभी देखना बच्चों के साथ इंटरैक्ट कर कर उनको आप कितना भी बहलाओ फुसलाओ, एट द एंड ऑफ इट जिस चीज में उनको उनका फायदा दिख रहा होगा, दे आर गोइंग टू डू दैट. इज दैट वेरी क्लियर? So exchange of favors says that everyone has their own needs, but it is your self need which is given the priority. Clear है? तो इन्हीं दोनों में लिखो. Write down. Under this, determined by punishment and obedience, write down. Make moral decisions. Make moral decisions strictly on the basis of self-interest. Make moral decisions strictly on the basis of self-interest. Self-interest. Next, exchange of favors में लिखो. Recognize that others have needs. Recognize that others have needs, but satisfaction of own needs has the priority. Recognizing that others have needs, but make satisfaction of your own need higher priority. Higher priority. Conventional stage में what determines your morality is first the conformist attitude. You want to preserve that good boy or good girl image. You will do everything which the larger society is asking you to do because you don't want to go against them. You want to be accepted by them. That's your desire, that you want to be a part of their group. So you want to preserve their good boy, good girl image, right? So that is the conformist attitude. So whatever the norms of the society says, whatever the collective says, you will be abiding by that, and that is first part of the conventional state. The second thing is whatever the law says. You will never question the law. So whatever the authority is saying, you will be abiding by that. Even if there exists certain law which is discriminatory in nature, you will not question that. So your morality would be shaped either by the conformist aspect or it is being shaped by the law and order. Is that clear? अब इन्हीं दोनों में लिखो. Conformist में लिखो. Chitransh, how punishment is related to self-interest? I want to minimize my punishment. Isn't that my self-interest? I would not do anything for which I'll be punished because I want to protect my self-interest. And maximum, even I am disobeying the rules or the directions which are given, I will disobey the rules only if I believe I will not be caught. Are you getting the point? I will not disobey the rules if there is a chance of getting caught because I want to serve my self-interest. I don't want to be punished. That's my interest. No, I want to minimize my punishment. बच्चा शैतानी भी तभी करता है जब उसको पता होता है अभी कोई नहीं देख रहा, अभी बच के निकल जाएगा. Why every now and then I am saying बच्चा बच्चा is because pre-conventional stage का मतलब होता है the early childhood, that is before 0 to 9. Conventional stage is basically after 9 years and this is adult. But zaruri nahi hai that if you have become adult age wise, then you have reached this stage also post conventional. Might be, let us say you are 25-year-old, but still your moral development is in the pre-conventional stage. ये हम assume करते हैं कि pre-conventional stage बच्चों में होती है. कन्वेंशनल स्टेज अडोलेसेंट में होती है एंड पोस्ट कन्वेंशनल स्टेज अडल्ट्स में होती है. बट it is not guaranteeing, this is just an assumption. We might be an adult like 25, 30, 35-year-old, but still our stage of moral development is like a child. जिसमें हमको डांट पड़ेगी वो काम नहीं करना है, जिसमें नहीं पड़ेगी वो करना है. अपना खुद का मोरालिटी का कोई स्टैंडर्ड ही नहीं है. ठीक है? इज दैट वेरी क्लियर फॉर एवरीवन? So conformist, I hope it is clear, Chitransh. Right done. With respect to conformity, in order to maintain a good image or interpersonal relations our decisions are based on what pleases others. Our decisions are based on what pleases others. Is based on what pleases others. Next, law and order. We obey laws without questioning. We obey laws without questioning and show respect for authority. Show respect for authority. Clear है? Post conventional says right and wrong is determined by our own sense of right and wrong is determined by our own sense of justice. It is determined by our personal values. What we think is right or wrong. Is that clear? We act according to our own inner conscience, even if it goes against the law of land. Even if it goes against the law of land. Now we are in the post-conventional stage. We are in the principled level of moral development where we have set our own standards with respect to right and wrong. So we will act according to our own inner conscience, inner voice, even if it is going against the established laws in the society. Is that clear? Is it making sense? So for us, the right and wrong would not be determined by what society is saying, by what authority is saying, by what law is saying. It would be determined by our own sense of justice, by our own personal values. Is that clear? Is it making sense? Okay. So are the stages clear? Is it clear that although it is believed that if you are in the adulthood, then you will have your own sense of justice. You will have your own personal values which are going to determine right and wrong. You are going to take action according to your inner conscience without being affected by what is the existing law which is there. But that doesn't mean that you're going to commit the wrong act. I'm not saying that. Itna to aap samajh gaye ho na? Inner conscience matlab the inner feeling which is telling you what is right and what is wrong. However, just your age doesn't determine that you are in the post-conventional stage of the moral development or not. Is that clear? So this is one example. Lawrence Kohlberg's stages of moral development is an example of descriptive ethics. And descriptive ethics is one of the dimension of ethics. Is that clear? Now the question arises, for example, I asked you, what do you think is the right way to act in this situation? And you asked me, ma'am, what do you mean by right? I said, what do you think is ethical? Then you said, ma'am, what is this ethics? And I said, when you practice your morality at collective level, then you say, ma'am, what is morality? I said, when you see your values in the prism of right and wrong, that is morality at individual level. You're like, ma'am, what are values? Did you understand? This is what is meta-ethics. What is the definition of value, belief, ethics, morality is nothing but meta-ethics. First, to describe or prescribe, you should at least know what is right. I have described the situation that this is what the people are considering right. Then I am discussing what does even right means. And after knowing the definition of right, I am prescribing what is the right thing to do. That is normative ethics. And now when you know what is the right thing to do, can you apply it in your practical life? So you start with descriptive, you go to meta, then you go to normative, and finally the applied ethics. These are the 4 dimensions of ethics in the same order. Clear है? बस एक लाइन में मेटा एथिक्स लिखो. Write down. The nature and meaning of ethical concepts is referred as meta-ethics. It looks at the origin and meaning of ethical principles. It looks at the origin and meaning of ethical principles. Clear है? Next, normative ethics. I'm saying any action has two components to it, means and the end, right? If the moral worth of the action is based on the means, then it is deontological ethics. And if the moral worth of an action is determined by its end, then it is consequential or teleological. I am performing an action. I am stealing from the haves to serve the interest of have-nots. Now, whether this action is ethical or not, it can be determined either by the end, the consequence, that I am stealing because I want to serve those who are hungry, who are marginalized. I want to uplift their status. So if you are determining the moral worth of my action based on the end result, which is good, obviously, I am working to serve the interest of the have-nots in the society. I am trying to ensure redistribution of wealth. I am trying to ensure upliftment of the marginalized section. So if I'm going by the consequence, so my action is ethical. That is what teleological ethics says, that the moral worth of the action would be determined by the end result, by the consequence of the action. However, if I go by the means which I have adopted to reach that result is the act of stealing. And I've already told you, there exists a school of thought which believes there cannot be a wrong way of doing the right thing. Is that clear? So that is nothing but Immanuel Kant's perspective. It is also known as Kantian ethics. It is also known as deontological ethics, duty-based ethics. You cannot perform a wrong act to justify the consequences. So we'll start with the teleological aspect. Now the question arises, whose interest are you going to serve? Consequence की बात कर रहे हैं ना, एक लाइन में लिखा है ना ये consequential ethics. Write down, when the moral worth of the action, define this term, when the moral worth of the action is determined, when the moral worth of the action is determined by the consequences, moral worth of the action is determined by the consequences. It is referred as teleological ethics. It is referred as teleological ethics. It is referred as teleological ethics. Now the question arises, whose interest are we going to serve at the end of it? The self-interest or the interest of others? Now, at the end of it, if you are pursuing your self-interest, even then there exist two perspectives. One is psychological egoism and other is ethical egoism. This is the perspective of Hobbes. This perspective is also talked about by Ayn Rand. It is a descriptive perspective. It is a prescriptive perspective. Try to understand. अब तो ये terms difficult नहीं लगते. Descriptive मतलब सिर्फ describe कर रहे हैं. Hobbes says individual is incapable of thinking about others. Hobbes says an individual is selfish. They are motivated by their own self-interest. That is psychological egoism. You will perform those actions which you think is going to further your own selfish interest. And Hobbes is not saying that it should be done. Hobbes is saying it is actually done. So it's a descriptive perspective which says that a man is incapable of thinking about others. The man fights for their own personal survival. And that's more because of his own experiences. If you realize every scholar is a perspective or is the product of his own circumstances. So the perspective of different thinkers largely is shaped by their own experiences. By why Karl Marx had certain perspective, why Emily Durkheim had certain perspective, why Max Weber had certain perspective, why Hobbes has certain perspective. That was a time of Puritan revolution where everywhere there was a chaos. People were fighting with each other. Why? Because there was a struggle for the survival. So then he realized that man is incapable to think about others. Man is only there to pursue, promote their own selfish vested interest. And that is what is psychological egoism. So it was being shown in the wrong light, that we are incapable of thinking about others. We are only pursuing our own selfish interest, and that is okay. But ethical egoism is a perspective which says it is prescriptive. It says you should promote your self-interest. Because if you are going to promote your self-interest, you will be happy about it. If you are happy about it, you can keep others around you also in a happy state. It says it is a right thing to do. Because ethical egoism as a perspective is prescriptive. It is telling you that, and by the way, it doesn't mean that you have to follow this. It is saying these are, because ethical egoism को criticize भी किया है, that in the process of pursuing your own vested interest, you are compromising on the interest of others. So it cannot be justified. So the point which I'm trying to say is these are the perspectives which are existing, not necessarily that you have to believe in this perspective. So Ayn Rand says it is advisable to pursue your own selfish interest. And why it is advisable? It says you know your needs better. You are not aware about the needs of the other people. So you should pursue your own selfish needs, your own self-interest rather than looking about the interest of others, because anyways you don't know what they want and what they need. And secondly, by pursuing the interest of others, by trying to satisfy their need, you are doing a charity for them, which goes against their self-respect and dignity. ये इनका thought process है. आपको जरूरी नहीं है कि आप मानो, but this is what they are talking about. So it is being said that even if you are pursuing your own selfish interest, in the eyes of Ayn Rand, that is ethical. However, in the eyes of others, it is not ethical. Is that clear? So, likho. Psychological egoism, write down. It's a descriptive perspective. It is a descriptive perspective given by Thomas Hobbes, given by Thomas Hobbes, given by Thomas Hobbes, who believes self-interest motivates all human action, who believes self-interest motivates all human actions. Self-interest motivates all human actions. Individuals are incapable of thinking about others. Individuals are incapable of thinking about others. Whereas ethical egoism is a prescriptive theory. Ethical egoism is a prescriptive theory Ayn Rand is the pioneering personality. Ayn Rand, Fountainhead लिखी है जिन्होंने. Ayn Rand is the pioneering personality with respect to this theory. With respect to this theory, where it states all people should be motivated. All people should be motivated. all people should be motivated by their self-interest. All people should be, यहाँ prescribe कर रहा है that you should be motivated by your own self-interest. As the pursuit of our own interest, the pursuit of our own interest produces the best overall result for everyone, produces the best overall result for everyone, produces the best overall result for everyone. It is only ethical egoism, it is only ethical egoism which recognizes the value of an individual life, which recognizes the value of an individual life, which recognizes the value of an individual life. Clear here? Can we proceed? ये delete कैसे होता है? नहीं, अगर मुझे इरेज करना है इसी से होता है. हाँ, थैंक यू. Okay. Now we are talking about the impact or the consequential ethics with respect to others, right? So the first topic that we were supposed to discuss was utilitarianism. This perspective is being given by Jeremy Bentham. It says moral worth of an action is determined by to what extent it is the ethical action. It is governed by a dictum, and that dictum is greater happiness for greater number. This utilitarianism approach is put forward by Jeremy Bentham, who says that the moral worth of an action would be governed by a dictum greater happiness for greater number. Matlab, you will think about the benefit of majority. If in that process, few people's interests are getting compromised, then it is fine. Because at the end of it, what matters is that the happiness of greater number needs to be pursued. That is, it is the majority which is going to determine the moral worth of your action. One thing. Second aspect is, what do you mean by happiness here? Happiness in itself can be very subjective. So Jeremy Bentham was very clear here. He is talking about the quantity. He is not talking about the quality. So with happiness, he says that materialistic pleasure, something which can be quantified. So he is not talking about value of life. He is talking about the materialistic aspect. So for majority of the people, I have to think in terms of material welfare. According to him, Pushpin is same as poetry. Pushpin मतलब game. उस time पे game हुआ करता था, जैसे आज Candy Crush. I'm just giving you an example. So for him, the happiness that you derive by playing a game is same as the happiness that you are deriving by writing a poetry. So he is not concerned about the quality of happiness. He is more concerned about the quantity. So, and quantity has to be measured with respect of the material aspect. Is that very clear? For example, let us say there is a rainfall happening. Bhini bhini khushboo is coming from the land and you are very happy, right? Jeremy Bentham doesn't consider this happening. Rainfall is happening, the weather is so nice. With your loved ones, you are having, sipping tea, enjoying the weather. Jeremy Bentham doesn't consider this to be the happiness. But because of the rainfall, if the agriculture productivity increases and it results into your economic welfare, then it would be considered as happiness. Did you understand my point? So the happiness has to be measured in materialistic aspect and it has to be taken with respect to the quantity rather than the quality. So utilitarian approach says that the moral worth of the action would be governed by the dictum greater happiness for greater number. Is it clear for everyone? I'll make you write everything. Now listen. This is a situation. A person is driving a car, all of a sudden the brakes failed, right? Now he has two choices. This was the original route which the person has to take. That was already planned. But he saw that if he takes the original route, he will end up killing 4 people. Although that would not be a deliberate killing, it would be an accident, right? Because your brakes failed, you did not do it janmujhkar, and this is the original route which was supposed to be followed. In that process, 4 people got killed. However, if deliberately he takes a diversion, because he realized if he takes this diversion, then he will end up killing only 1 person. But there is a difference. This is an accident. This would be a deliberate killing. Utilitarian approach says maximum benefit for maximum people. It is concerned about the end result. It doesn't care whether it is an accident or it is a deliberate killing. But at the end of it, the end result is you end up saving life of 4 people. So according to utilitarian perspective, this would be justified that you have taken a diversion route and you end up killing only 1 person, because otherwise you would have end up killing 4 people. But there is a difference. That would have been an accident and this is a deliberate thing. But deontological ethics says that this is wrong, because here your means is that you are deliberately killing the person. Girdhar is asking me to explain deontological ethics again. Girdhar, just give me 10 minutes. I'll discuss. अभी हमने discuss नहीं किया है. We'll just discuss. Give me some time. Is that very clear? Is it making sense? It is more about, Neha, quantified approach. Let's put it this way. Quantified approach. Hedonistic pleasure. It was not talking about altruism. It was talking about hedonism. Materialistic pleasure. So which is the happiness which can be quantified. If you are feeling happy within yourself because your quality of life has improved, there is a lot of peace of mind, that is not considered pleasure for them. It would be considered when there is economic growth, when there is economic development, when it can be quantified, you can measure that happiness. The development is taking place. So that is what is the quantified approach here. Is this clear? So write down. Utilitarianism focuses on the end. Utilitarianism focuses on the end, and within that, the benefit of majority, and within that, the benefit of majority. Benefit of majority. Full stop. Moral worth of an action is governed by the dictum greater happiness for greater number. Greater happiness for greater number. According to Bentham, anything that reduces pain and increase pleasure has a utility. Anything that reduces pain and increase pleasure has a utility. Therefore, only such things needs to be promoted. Only such things needs to be promoted. So Neha, more than monetary, it would be a materialistic aspect. एक calculus भी develop किया था Jeremy Bentham ने. That was philosophic calculus to measure the happiness. So it was not about the quality of happiness, it was the measurement of the happiness. Right? So एक line में लिखो. According to Bentham, pleasure differs only in quantity and not in quality. Full stop. He defined happiness only from materialistic approach value-based happiness does not appear in his scheme. Value-based happiness does not appear in his scheme. I'm giving you another example to explain. Let us suppose an industry has to be established here. It is believed, and this is the tribal area. In this tribal area, an industry has to be established, and it is believed that with the establishment of this industry, approximately 5,000 people will get employment. Not only that, it will result into overall economic growth, because the goods which are going to be produced by this industry can be exported. Not only that, since these people are getting employment, they will also have liquidity, they will also have money at their disposal. So it will generate domestic demand of the goods. So not only it is ensuring production, but it is also ensuring consumption, which will help in facilitating the overall economic growth of the nation. Everything is looking so perfect. However, there is a slight problem. This establishment of an industry will lead to displacement of 50. What will Jeremy Bentham do? Construct, establish. It doesn't matter if 50 tribals are getting displaced, because greater happiness for greater number. Is it making sense? Okay, ye bana lo, just for your reference. Make this diagram. We'll use it again. Make this diagram. According to Jeremy Bentham's perspective, minorities' interest doesn't matter. So they are only promoting the interest of majority. Clear? Now, so these were the 2 points for which Jeremy Bentham was criticized also. One, he was more interested in the materialistic aspect of happiness. He was not concerned about the values which are associated, for example, equality, liberty, freedom. He was not concerned about all these things. It was only the materialistic aspect which defined his happiness, his understanding of happiness. And secondly, in the context of, or on the pretext of promoting the interest of majority, he was compromising on the interest of minority. So this was the reason. These were the 2 major factors for which Jeremy Bentham's utilitarian approach was being criticized. However, to further take forward Jeremy Bentham's perspective of utilitarianism, there was another scholar, and his name was John Stuart Mill. John Stuart Mill was the disciple of Jeremy Bentham. So he further had the interest in utilitarian approach, and he wanted to carry forward this utilitarian approach. So while he was studying this utilitarian approach, he mentioned 2 things. He said, same diagram. He said, you want to promote the interest of these 5,000 people, and in that process, the interest of 50 tribals are getting compromised. So the John Stuart Mill said, there is one thing which is non-negotiable, irrespective whether you are a majority or you are a minority, and that is liberty. He said liberty is non-negotiable. So even if you want to construct this industrial area, you want to establish this industry which is resulting into displacement of these 50 tribals, at least take their Do you realize that Forest Right Act, FESA, is based on revisited utilitarianism? That if you want to take the land of the tribals for some public work, you have to take the consent of Gram Sabha. Did you get my point, what I'm trying to say? Why? Because it is based on the idea of John Stuart Mill, who says liberty of an individual, even if they are the minorities, it is non-negotiable. So even if you want to take their land to, promote the interest of the larger section of the society, you have to at least take their consent. And not only this, John Stuart Mill also said that happiness should not only be seen in quantitative terms, it should also be seen in qualitative. He said it is better to be a Socrates dissatisfied rather than a fool satisfied. Socrates की जगह wise man भी डाल सकते हो. I'll just repeat. It is better to be a Socrates dissatisfied rather than a fool satisfied. What he meant was, there are two friends, let us say A and B. A is the person, both were together in college days, both, let me give a fictional situation, both prepared from IIT. Okay. Then one decided to prepare for UPSC, whereas the other decided to join some multinational corporation. Okay. So after 5 years, they decided to meet again. Okay. So one friend was preparing for UPSC and the other friend was doing well for himself in his corporate life. So when they met, so the person who was preparing for UPSC that day was pretty upset. He was not upset because of his result and preparation. He was basically upset because of the sorry state of affair. He was upset because of inequality which is existing. He was upset because of the discrimination, the prejudice, the violence which is happening against the marginalized section. Whereas on the other hand, the other friend was pretty happy in his life. And when he met, he's like, यार तुम कहाँ दुनिया की problem लेकर बैठे हुए हो? See, what am I doing in my life? I have purchased a new house. I am driving a luxurious car. I am so happy and content in my life. And see, what have you done to yourself? You are bothered about something which is not even directly concerning you. Why are you bothered about the violence which is happening? Since it is not happening with you, why are you concerned about it? Why are you concerned about the caste discrimination which is existing in the society? You yourself belongs to upper caste. Why are you concerned about the prejudices against the minority when you are belonging to the majority class? Why are you being concerned about something which will never happen to you? You are concerned about poverty and inequality when you belong to upper class. So why are you bothered? So the situation fits here. It is better to be a wise man dissatisfied rather than fool satisfied. Because for one friend, the happiness was equated by the luxurious car. The happiness was equated with the house that he owns. He was not concerned about the larger affair of this country. Being the responsible citizen, isn't it your duty to establish law and order in the society? Isn't it your duty to establish proper cohesion in the society? So that is the challenge which is existing. And the person whom he was questioning did not have any personal issue, but he was more concerned about the sorry state of affair which was existing. So it is better to be a wise man dissatisfied rather than a fool satisfied. So ये कहने का तात्पर्य था that happiness cannot be always equated in quantitative terms. You have to look for quality of happiness. Whether equality exists or not, whether brotherhood exists or not, whether liberty exists or not, whether freedom exists or not, whether sustainable development is happening or not, whether women empowerment is taking place or not. You are raising concerns for women empowerment does not mean you necessarily have to be a woman for that. The men can equally be concerned about women empowerment issues. Are you getting my point, what I'm trying to say? Did you understand? ठीक है. There's a very famous saying for John Stuart Mill that he was a Peter who denied his master. I told you in the beginning he was a disciple of Jeremy Bentham. He was interested in utilitarianism. There were two criticisms of Jeremy Bentham. One, promoting the interest of majority at the cost of minority, and second, the happiness is in the quantitative materialistic term. Being his disciple, he overturned utilitarianism because he contradicted both these aspects. He said, even though you are promoting the interest of majority, the interest of minority cannot be compromised, and happiness should not always be viewed from the materialistic aspect. The quality of happiness should be equally relevant and important. So he was a Peter who denied his master. Is that clear? Like, write down. John Stuart Mill, J.S. Mill, was the defender of utilitarianism, However, he revisited it. He revisited it. He revisited it. For him, liberty of individual is priceless. For him, liberty of individual is priceless. And it cannot be compromised. For the promotion of GHGN, greater happiness for greater number. Greater happiness for greater number. According to him, value-based happiness is equally important. Value-based happiness is equally important as that of the quantity of happiness. As that of the quantity of happiness. Value-based happiness is equally important to that of the quantity of happiness. Quantity of happiness. ये दोनों quotations लिख लेना. He was a Peter who denied his master, and it is better to be a Socrates dissatisfied rather than a fool satisfied. Next, I made you write concept of common good. What I just mean is that in utilitarian approach and concept of common good. In utilitarian approach, individual is the unit. You have different individuals who are there in the society. I will try to promote the interest of these individuals. Right, that is utilitarian approach. Maximum individual's interest needs to be promoted because individual is a unit. In case of common good, it is the entire society which is considered as a unit. So when you do that, so you are now promoting the interest, you are doing those actions which are going to promote the interest of the society at large. And in that process, automatically the individual interest is going to be served. For example, conditional cash transfers or direct benefit transfers which are happening to their account. That is individual benefit which is happening. Now, when we treat society as a unit, I am investing, let us say, establishment of schools. I am focusing more on establishment of hospitals. I am interested more in construction of roads. Because I am treating my society as a unit. I am not doing it for any particular individual. But yes, in that process, individual interest automatically is going to be served. It is more like giving a dole. It is more like lending a hand. It is more like capability approach of Amartya Sen. Right? That you are creating the infrastructure. You are ensuring the opportunity. You are not giving them fish. You are telling them how to fish. So that is what is the concept of common good. Is that it is more evolved concept. Write down. Here we take concept of common good. Here we take society as a unit. Here we take society as a unit and focus on the holistic happiness. Focus on the holistic happiness. Holistic happiness. That is creation of schools, hospitals, highways, etc. Creation of schools, hospitals, highways, etc. क्लियर है? ठीक है? Next, consequential deontological ethics. there is a situation in the hospital where there is a casual construction labor who is admitted in a general ward. A very small issue, some pain in the stomach. Otherwise, he is absolutely fine. He would be released, discharged from the hospital in a day. On the other hand, in the ICU, we have 4 patients. One is a CEO of a big company. The other person is a scientist who is working on a very important project which is required for the development of the nation. The third is the minister, okay, and who is also responsible for implementation of various policies. Another is a very renowned heart surgeon himself, who has been saving the life of many. And if he continues to survive, he is going to save the life of many. Did you get my point now? Now, one person requires a liver, other person requires kidney, some person require any other organ, and this was the situation. Surprisingly, the vitals of this construction labor very rightly matched with these 4 people. If this person's life is compromised, the life of these 4 renowned personalities can be saved. And not only that, it might result, since they are operating such big companies, big projects, big policies, so their death would have negative ramification not only for their family but also for the large society. Right? If Jeremy Bentham would have been here, he would have been compromising the life. Utilitarian approach तो यही कहती है, because केवल 4 की लाइफ नहीं बच रही है, इनकी वजह से lot of people whose financial concerns are dependent on these people, the development of the nation is dependent on their work, that would also be positively impacted. However, Immanuel Kant categorically says that dignity of a human being is non-negotiable. So what? He is only a construction worker. So what? His life may make difference only to him or to his family members. So what? At the end of it, he is a human being whose life cannot be compromised. No matter your intent is to save the life of 4 people, no matter your intent is to ensure development, running the economy, families, expenses, finances of various families, but the means that you are adopting is deliberately killing one person to save the life of 4 people, and it is an absolute no. That is what it means when we say deontological ethics. There is no wrong way of doing the right thing. No individual's life can be compromised to save someone else. An individual in itself is the end. They should not be treated as the means. So the dignity of the individual is a categorical imperative. Categorical imperative means non-negotiable need of the hour. Clear hai? Right done. Deontological ethics. Deontological ethics or Kantian ethics. Deontological ethics or Kantian ethics. Means-based ethics. Means-based ethics. Here, right path is important, not the result. Here, right path is important, not the result. Immanuel Kant says, one should not compromise on moral principles. One should not compromise on moral principles, even if it does not lead to success. One should not compromise on moral principles even if it does not lead to success. Even if it does not lead to success. Full stop. The moral worth of human action is judged. The moral worth of human action is judged on the basis of the means. On the basis of the means. Full stop. According to Immanuel Kant, dignity of an individual is a categorical imperative. Categorical का मतलब होता है absolute, non-negotiable, unconditional, और imperative का मतलब होता है need of the hour. Categorical का मतलब होता है unconditional, absolute, non-negotiable, और imperative का मतलब होता है need of the hour. So dignity of an individual is a categorical imperative. It is non-negotiable need of the hour. एक statement है, human beings are end in themselves. Human beings are end in itself. Human beings are end in himself. And no individual should be treated. No individual should be treated as a means to end. No individual should be treated as the means to end. According to this perspective, bonded labor, surrogacy, prostitution is wrong. Because the dignity of the individual is a categorical imperative. You cannot treat an individual as a means. The individual are the end in themselves. You cannot treat some individual as a means to achieve goals for someone else. Their liberty, their dignity is non-negotiable. Is that clear? Clinical trials on humans. Absolutely wrong. You cannot treat an individual as a means to achieve certain other goals. So according to deontological perspective, it would not be considered as ethical. Clear hai? This is clear. Similar value system is held by Mahatma Gandhi. Similar value system is held by Mahatma. Clear hai? One last point is left, virtue-based ethics. Virtue-based ethics. Virtue-based ethics. Virtues matlab desirable traits, desirable character. So here the focus is not on the action. The focus is on who is performing the action. So if you are able to create a virtuous society, then you would not be under this debate whether this action is right or wrong. Because everyone in the society has the desirable character. So whatever they are going to do would be the right thing. Is that clear? Right now? Here, who is performing the action is important. Here, who is performing the action is important rather than what action is being performed. Rather than what action is being performed. इनकी क्लास 5 बजे भी है. चलो we'll just हो भी गया वैसे भी. Here, who is performing the action is important rather than what action is performed. Full stop. It focuses on building the moral character of the individual. It focuses on building the moral character of the individual. Moral character of the individual, full stop. The character is built through inculcating values which are desirable. Through inculcating desirable values and eliminating the vices. And how it can be done? Remember socialization. So bracket mein likh do. One can link it with the process of socialization. How will you develop those desirable traits, virtues? Through socialization. Remember family, school, media, religion, peer group. So link it with socialization. एक दो theoretical perspectives देख लो. According to Socrates, knowledge is virtue. According to Socrates, knowledge is virtue. According to Plato, there are 4 cardinal virtues: courage, wisdom, temperance, and justice. Courage समझते, wisdom you understand. Just by having knowledge is not sufficient. How to use the knowledge, where to use the knowledge, in what capacity it should be used. Understanding is known as wisdom. There are a lot of people who are knowledgeable, but they might not possess the right wisdom. Temperance means middle path. Everything in moderation. And justice means to uphold the value of justice. Right? So these are the cardinal virtues which an individual should possess. Automatically the ethics would be ensured in the society according to Plato. Is that clear? This is just few aspects about normative ethics. Normative ethics was nothing but what you prescribe. So either it can be teleological or it can be deontological. Within teleological, you can serve your own selfish interests, psychological egoism, ethical egoism, or you can serve the interest of others, utilitarianism, revisiting, concept of common good. Then Kantian perspective, right? Then with respect to virtue-based ethics, you are not focusing on the action, you are focusing on the person who is performing the action. Is this very clear? Last, it is applied ethics. For that, I have asked the team to upload the content. What you need to do is applied ethics में कुछ नहीं, आप already पढ़ चुके हो. आपने surrogacy भी पढ़ा है, transgenders भी पढ़ा है, आपने environment भी पूरा पढ़ा है, ठीक है? You have studied international issues also, you've studied the corporate issues also. All you need to do is whatever ethical understanding that you have, how it is supposed to be applied in the realm of real life. So whether if it is an issue of surrogacy, what are the pros, what are the cons? Some believe it is absolutely ethical, the surrogacy concept. Why? Because it is alleviating the curse of infertility from the couple. So it is justified. However, many believe it would not be justified, because here the women who is being, the surrogate mother is being treated as a means to attain a larger goal. So the dignity of the surrogate mother often gets compromised. Remember surrogacy mein humne padha tha, the rights of the women is not recognized, the physical rights, the financial rights, many a times the contracts are such which absolve the parents of all their responsibility. As a result, it results into discrimination of the surrogate mother as well as the surrogate child. So every issue has both the connotation. You believe abortion is justified. Few believe abortion is not ethical. Few believe that euthanasia is justified. Some believe euthanasia is not justified. Is that very clear? So what we have done is, I have prepared a write-up for you, a detailed content in which what do you mean by applied ethics, different dimensions of applied ethics, whether it is business ethics, bioethics, or environmental ethics. And with respect to that, the issue of euthanasia, issue of surrogacy, everything is written. In fact, with respect to clinical trials, everything is there in that content. All you need to do is just go through the content. And in case you find any difficulty, please let me know. Is that clear? ठीक है, क्योंकि आप ये सारे टॉपिक्स पढ़ चुके हो करंट अफेयर्स में, आपको बस उसमें एक एथिकल डायमेंशन ऐड करना है, एक लाइन ऐड करनी है, whether it is ethical or whether it is not. Is that clear? So a detailed write-up is being provided. I still have classes with you. I think day after tomorrow only, we have social justice ka class. So in case you're not understanding something related to applied ethics, please let me know. But just for that matter, first go through the content. Just go through the content. I've tried to make it as elaborate as possible and as simple as possible. Even then, if you find any difficulty, please let me know. Okay? So on this note, I will conclude the lecture on ethics. Is that clear? बस एक ये जो question नहीं था that human beings should not be treated as a means but as an end, वो जो Immanuel Kant वाला question था. If I ask you to write an answer on that statement, what do you understand by that statement? Can you write the answer? वो statement, quote unquote, and what do you understand by that statement? Can you write the answer? Okay, it's a 10-marker question. Try attempting that. Okay? So with this, ethics comes to an end. Temperance is middle path. Temperance means moderation in life. Extreme नहीं करेंगे कभी. ठीक है? Moderate रहेंगे. Is this clear for everyone? So on this note, we conclude, and abhi bhi I still have post-independence and social justice left in your batches. So in case you find any difficulty with society or you find any difficulty with respect to ethics, the topics which I have covered, and any issue, please let me know. Okay? Hello. Bye people. Take care and enjoy your class from 5 o'clock.